When he woke up, there was an alien woman. The woman was shocked by what she saw. Before starting the story, don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Let's move on. Asterisk, the Texas morning sun hit Marcus Vega's eyes through the blinds. Vega opened his eyes. Verana, his new alien housekeeper, was lying stark naked on his chest. With her bright pink skin, she was like a piece of cotton candy. Verana's large eyes opened. After staring at each other, she was shocked, and then Marcus started to laugh. A flushed Verana slowly got out of bed. By the blessed stars. Mr. Vega, she exclaimed, her melodic voice carrying a genuine note of distress. I must apologize for startling you this way. It is entirely my fault. I should have explained my species' customs in more detail when I accepted this position. Marcus also sat up, wrapping the sheet around his waist. His military training kept him strong against the unexpected, but this was absurd. Verana, give me an explanation. What were you doing in my bed? He demanded in a clear tone. She perched on the edge of his bed, seemingly unconcerned about her own nudity. You see, my people, the Teronians, are communal sleepers. We share body heat to conserve energy. It is deeply ingrained in our biology and our culture. After completing my evening duties, I noted your sleeping form and my instincts took over. She paused, her crest turning a deeper rose color. I should have realized that humans might view this differently. It's okay. You don't need to be upset, Marcus said, running a hand through his close-cropped hair. On Earth, especially in Texas, the situation would imply other intentions. We need to set boundaries, Verana, Marcus stated. Understood, Mr. Marcus. With that, she began to put on her clothes. He had hired her through the Interstellar Domestic Services Agency. Impressed by her references and the agency's reputation, I have done some study on human cuisine, and I will be making you the thing called pancakes, she announced. You start on that, and I'll get dressed. As you wish, she replied, heading toward the door. She paused at the threshold and looked back with an expression he couldn't quite decipher. And Mr. Vega, despite the cultural misunderstanding, I hope this has not made things awkward between us. No more awkward than having my alien housekeeper use me as a body pillow. Marcus replied with a wry smile. And please, call me Marcus. After this morning, I think we're beyond formalities. Verana's crest curled in what appeared to be delight. Marcus, she said, testing the name on her tongue. Very well. I must warn you, though, my species forms strong emotional bonds through physical proximity. You may find yourself quite attached. Before Marcus could fully comprehend the implications of that statement, she gracefully slipped out the door, leaving him alone with his thoughts and the warm sensation that lingered where her body had pressed against his. Damn it, he muttered, falling back onto his pillows. What have I gotten myself into? If this unexpected story interested you, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let's see how Marcus handles this situation. A cultural exchange breakfast 20 minutes later. Marcus, now appropriately clad in weekend casual and old Air Force t-shirt and jeans, walked into his kitchen. The sight that greeted him nearly stopped him in his tracks. Verana moved around the space with practiced ease, expertly flipping pancakes while her uniform hugged her contours. The domestic scene felt surprisingly natural, despite the bizarre start to the morning. I trust you enjoy blueberries, she said without turning around. Your nutritional profile indicated a preference for them, and I located some in your stasis unit, that is, your refrigerator. You read my nutritional profile? Marcus asked, sliding onto a bar stool at the kitchen counter. Naturally, Verana replied, setting a plate of perfectly golden pancakes before him. The agency provided extensive documentation regarding your preferences and habits. She paused. However, they neglected to mention the human aversion to co-sleeping arrangements. Probably because most humans don't normally share a bed with strangers, Marcus said, taking a bite of the pancake. His eyes widened in surprise. Oh my God, these are incredible. Verana's crest flushed with pleasure. I am pleased by your approval. I have studied human cuisine extensively, but I must confess, my interest in human culture extends far beyond your food. The way she said it caused Marcus to pause mid-bite. Oh, really? Like what? Indeed, she said, leaning against the counter, her striking blue eyes fixed on him. For instance, I find human mating rituals fascinating. The intricate dance of attraction, the subtle signaling, the building of tension. She tilted her head. Am I making you nervous? Not exactly nervous, Marcus managed to say. suddenly very aware of how the morning light illuminated her pink skin. Just surprised that the agency didn't mention you'd be this direct. Verana smiled. My species believes in direct communication, particularly on matters of attraction. You, Marcus Vega, are quite attractive. Marcus nearly choked on his coffee. Listen, Verana, you're beautiful, very. Well, he took a deep breath. We need to maintain professional boundaries, of course, she conceded. But her crest curled with an expression he was beginning to recognize as amusement. I must point out, however, that my contract includes a clause regarding potential romantic relationships between employer and employee. The agency is quite progressive about interspecies relations. They actually put that in the contract. Page 47, paragraph C, Verana confirmed. I can quote it verbatim if you wish. Marcus couldn't help but laugh. You're a really special piece of work, aren't you? I take that as a compliment, she said, beginning to clear the kitchen. Now, shall we discuss the remainder of today's schedule? I believe you mentioned wanting to reorganize the living area, right? Work, Marcus said, grateful for the change of topic. But perhaps we should start with a thorough review of Earth customs regarding personal space. An excellent suggestion, Verana agreed. However, I hope you are equally interested in learning about Terran customs. After all, cultural exchange works both ways. The way she smiled at him suggested that this was going to be a very interesting cultural exchange. Indeed, the picnic and the bond following week subjected Marcus to a course in interspecies relationship training that no agency briefing could have prepared him for. Living with Verana was like trying to waltz in zero gravity, theoretically possible, but requiring constant adjustment and a healthy sense of humor. Excuse me, Marcus? Verana's melodic voice called from the doorway of his home office. I believe we need to revisit the concept of personal space. She was standing there, holding what appeared to be his entire collection of undergarments. He nearly spilled his coffee. Why are you holding those? I was organizing your garment storage units according to Teronian efficiency standards, she explained, her crest curling with professional pride. However, I noticed you seemed quite embarrassed when I attempted to discuss garment preferences during dinner last night. Yes, because normal human housekeepers don't usually ask their employers about their boxer brief preference while serving pasta, Marcus retorted, trying to maintain his composure. Verana's head tilted thoughtfully. Fascinating. So humans sequester the discussion of intimate garments, even though they serve fundamental functions. It's complicated, Marcus said, running a hand through his hair, a gesture he made when frustrated. Look, how about we establish some basic rules, like knocking before entering private areas? But I thought we moved past such formalities after our morning encounter last week, she said, her blue eyes sparkling with mischief. Also, my species believes that the sharing of a living space creates an intimate bond that transcends physical boundaries. That's exactly what we need to talk about, Marcus said, rising from his desk. Your cultural perspective is fascinating, but your heart rate just accelerated. Verana interrupted, her crest perking up with interest. Is it because I mentioned intimacy, or because I am still holding your undergarments? Marcus suppressed a laugh. Probably both. And how do you know my heart rate changed? Teronians are naturally empathetic, she explained, finally setting the pile of clothes down. We can sense the physiological changes of those we bond with, and since our sleeping encounter, I have developed quite a strong link to your biological rhythms. Wait a minute, we bonded. Marcus felt his heart rate speed up again. Yes, but not in the sense of permanent mating, she quickly added, moving closer to him. More like a provisional bond. For instance, despite your protestations about personal space, I can tell you find our proximity quite stimulating. Marcus took a step back, bumping into his desk. Verana, your pupils are dilating, she observed with scientific interest, and your skin temperature is rising. Humans display such fascinating physiological responses to attraction. We need boundaries, Marcus managed to say, but he couldn't help noticing how the morning light through the window created fascinating patterns on her pink skin. Naturally, she conceded, consciously taking a step back. I have been studying human courtship rituals. They seem unnecessarily complex, but I am willing to learn. For instance, I understand that the sharing of food is considered a bonding activity. Yes, but excellent. I have prepared a midday meal following traditional human dating protocols. I believe it is called a picnic. Verana's crest curled with excitement. I even located a traditional wicker basket in your storage unit. When did you have time to do that while you were working? I set everything up in the backyard. I also prepared several conversation topics that do not involve undergarments or sleeping arrangements. Her crest glowed with satisfaction. I also calculated your probability of accepting the picnic to be 79.8%. Your behavioral patterns indicate a strong appreciation for both good food and direct honesty. You're analyzing my behavioral patterns? Of course. How else could I optimize our potential compatibility? She moved toward the door with fluid grace. Shall we adjourn to the garden? I have prepared what humans refer to as snacks, though I am quite curious as to why you restrict consumption to only one appendage. Trailing her to the backyard, Marcus paused to admire the sight before him. Verana had transformed his modest garden into something out of a romantic comedy, complete with a checkered blanket, the wicker basket, and an impressive array of thoughtfully prepared snacks. I noted a preference for spicy flavors, she said, settling gracefully onto the blanket. So I incorporated various earth peppers into traditional Teronian recipes. I believe fusion cuisine is considered quite sophisticated among humans. Marcus sat down next to her, maintaining what he hoped was a professional distance. This is incredible, Verana, but you know this isn't part of your regular duties, right? Oh, I am quite aware, she replied, her crest blushing slightly. Consider this personal research into human courtship rituals. For example, I understand that nourishing potential partners is a common practice in many Earth cultures. Potential partner? Marcus nearly choked on the appetizer she had just handed him. Is that too direct? The cultural guidelines provided by the agency were somewhat vague on the appropriate time frame for expressing mating interest. She leaned closer, her large blue eyes intense. Still, I must say your physiological responses indicate reciprocal attraction. It's not that simple, Marcus began, but felt his resolve weakening as she gracefully poured the glasses of wine. There are professional considerations, cultural differences, all fascinating challenges to overcome, Verana conceded cheerfully. Did you know that Teronian relationships typically begin with a phase of reciprocal service? We believe that nurturing each other's needs creates the strongest bonds. Is that why you've been such a meticulous housekeeper? Partially, she admitted, though I must confess, observing your reactions to my domestic endeavors has been quite entertaining. Humans have very expressive faces, especially when they find their garments reorganized according to alien organizational systems. Marcus couldn't help but laugh. So you were deliberately pushing my buttons? I was studying your reactions, she corrected with a playful smile. For instance, I noticed that despite your insistence on professional boundaries, you have been observing me when you believe I am not looking. Marcus felt his face heat up. No need for shame. I find your attention quite flattering. Reciprocal observation is a key component of Teronian courtship. Her crest glowed with delight. For example, I have observed that you have a fascinating habit of running your hand through your hair. When you are nervous, just as you are doing now, Marcus quickly dropped his hand. You are very observant. Indeed, I have also noticed that despite your protestations about maintaining distance, you have moved approximately 15 centimeters closer to me since you sat down. Looking down, Marcus realized she was right. You really do analyze everything, don't you? It is part of my nature, she said, reaching out to straighten his collar with careful fingers, just as reacting to my touch with a rising heart rate and dilation of your pupils is part of yours. Verana. Marcus reached to pull her hand away, but found himself holding her hand instead. This is complicated, only because humans make it complicated, she replied gently. My people believe in openly acknowledging attraction and allowing it to develop naturally. We do not fight our instincts, we honor them. And what are your instincts telling you right now? Her crest curled with emotion, that despite your species' complex social rules, you feel this connection as strongly as I do, that your insistence on professional boundaries is contradicted by your biological responses, and that you are about to kiss me. Am I that predictable? Marcus asked, already leaning closer. No, she whispered, her breath warm against his lips. You are surprisingly, fascinatingly human, and that is precisely why I find you so irresistible. The shared essence ritual 12 weeks after the backyard picnic, Marcus found himself participating in what Verana called the shared essence ceremony, which mostly consisted of him sitting cross-legged on his living room floor while she burned sweet-smelling alien incense and traced intricate patterns on his bare chest with a glowing pink powder. So this is a traditional Teronian courtship ritual? He asked, trying to remain still as her delicate fingers drew meticulous swirls on his dark skin. "Indeed," Verana replied, her crest softly glowing in the dim light. "The patterns represent the intertwining of life forces. It is considered a profoundly intimate gesture among my people." Her blue eyes met his with her characteristic directness. "Your heart rate, however, suggests you find it intimate in other ways as well." Marcus cleared his throat. "You can't blame me. You're literally painting me with glowing alien powder while wearing that, what did you call it? A bonding robe," she said, adjusting the sheer garment that seemed to flow round her curves like morning mist. "Traditional Teronian ceremonial wear. I notice, however, that you approve of how it complements my form. You're getting better at human understatement," he chuckled. "And you are getting better at Teronian directness," she countered, leaning closer to add another pattern. "Your physiological responses are quite encouraging." The weeks that had passed had been a whirlwind of cultural exchange, each day bringing new discoveries about each other's species. Verana had introduced him to a variety of Teronian customs, from their meticulous greeting rituals to their fascinating perspectives on monogamy. In return, Marcus had attempted to teach her human traditions, though her interpretations often led to endearingly awkward situations. "Remember the time you tried to make me breakfast in bed?" Marcus smiled at the memory. Verana's crest curled with amusement. "How was I to know that humans typically wear night attire?" In my defense, the cultural database entry on breakfast in bed was quite ambiguous. I don't think any database could have prepared it for finding me in my kitchen wearing nothing but an apron. The apron was a concession to human propriety, she pointed out, adding another swirl to his chest. "Still, your reaction was quite satisfying. Their relationship had developed naturally, despite or perhaps because of the cultural differences." Verana's direct approach to attraction and intimacy had slowly worn down Marcus's initial reservations, while her genuine fascination with human customs had led to countless moments of captivating discovery. "Well," Verana said, leaning back to admire her work, "the patterns are complete. We now begin the meditation phase." "Meditation? You didn't mention that part." "The shared essence ritual requires both participants to achieve spiritual synchronization," she explained, moving to sit behind him. "Lean back, rest against me," Marcus complied, trying to ignore that the thin fabric of the robe did little to mask the warmth of her body. "And how exactly do we achieve this synchronization?" "Through synchronized breathing and physical contact," she murmured, her breath tickling his ear. "The powder I use contains trace elements that enhance empathetic connection. You should be feeling its effects soon. Is this safe for humans?" he asked, though he was already noticing a pleasant tingling where she had applied it. "I consulted the interspecies medical database," she assured him. "The effects are entirely safe, though potentially more intense for humans. Your species has particularly receptive nerve pathways," as if to prove her point. Marcus felt a wave of emotion, not just physical, but emotional wash over him. He could suddenly sense Verana's feelings, her affection, her desire, the genuine joy she felt at sharing this ritual with him. "This is wow," he managed, as another wave of feeling flowed through him. "The powder amplifies natural empathetic bonds," Verana explained, her voice taking on a husky quality. "It is used among my people to deepen intimate connections between potential partners." "Potential partners," Marcus repeated, turning his head to look at her, finding her face only inches from his. "That's what we are, isn't it?" "What would you call it?" she asked, gesturing at their intertwined position and the glowing patterns on his skin. "Humans have very complicated terminology for relationship stages. Among Teronians, it is simpler. We either feel the connection or we do not. And what do you feel?" Her crest curled with feeling. "Everything. Your strength, your kindness, your passion. The way your body responds to my touch. The way your mind opens to new experiences despite your initial hesitation. You fascinate me." Marcus Vega, the effects of the powder intensified, making him hyper-aware of every point of contact between them. He could feel her heartbeat, her breath, the subtle vibrations of her crest reacting to his emotions. "You know," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "humans have rituals for deepening connections too. Show me," she whispered. What followed was a beautiful merging of their cultures. Human passion met Teronian grace in a dance as old as time itself. The glowing powder created trails of light as they moved together, their empathetic connection making every touch, every sensation exponentially more intense. Later, as they lay tangled in the sheets, which now bore traces of the luminous pink powder, Verana traced patterns on his chest again, this time only with her fingertips. "I must inform you," she said, her voice carrying its usual mix of scientific precision and intimate warmth, "that the compatibility between Teronians and humans extends beyond the spiritual realm. We are, in fact, biologically compatible in ways that can lead to significant life changes." Marcus propped himself up on one elbow. "Are you saying what I think you're saying? If you are suggesting that I am discussing the possibility of successful interspecies procreation, then yes." Her crest curled with intense excitement. "It is rare, but documented. The agency actually has quite extensive paperwork for such eventualities." "Of course they do." Marcus laughed, pulling her closer. "You know, when I hired a housekeeper, I never expected any of this. Life rarely meets our expectations," she said wisely. "Sometimes it exceeds them in the most marvelous ways. So, what do you think their next step should be?" We look forward to hearing your thoughts on Verana and Marcus' story in the comments. Thank you for witnessing this adventure, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Marcus's mouth was slightly agape as he stared at the holographic medical readout, suspended above Verana's abdomen. The Teronian doctor et al., distinguished male with steel gray skin and an elaborate head crest, nodded with professional satisfaction. "Congratulations," Dr. Corian announced, his head crest curling with scientific excitement. "You are experiencing a perfectly healthy human Teronian pregnancy, and given our species' accelerated gestation period, you should be expecting your son in approximately 6 Earth weeks." 6 weeks, Marcus gasped, clutching Verana's hand tighter. "But we only found out yesterday." Verana's head crest glowed with maternal pride. "Teronian pregnancies are remarkably efficient, dearest. Once genetic compatibility is established, our bodies waste no time." "What makes this case particularly fascinating," Dr. Corian added, adjusting his holographic instruments, "is that it is the first documented human Teronian gestation in the sector. I have already submitted a preliminary study to the Journal of Interspecies Medicine." Before Marcus could fully process that, his Home's AI system chimed. Priority communication incoming from the Teronian Central Network. Marked as a family emergency. Verana's head crest abruptly flared. "Oh stars, that must be my family." The holographic display shimmered, and the elegant Teronian faces materialized. The woman's head crest was a luminous mother of pearl, and the male's was the same shade of lavender, or rather, magenta as Verana's. "Daughter," the woman exclaimed, "our household's genetic monitors just registered an interspecies gestation alert. We are already en route to Earth for the traditional blessing ceremony. Mother, father." Verana managed to speak, her head crest vibrating with nervous energy. "What a surprise. I was going to at least—" "Nonsense," her father interjected. "The initial blood blessing must be performed before the 3rd phase of gestation. We will arrive in approximately 8 Earth hours. I trust your human partner is prepared for the trials." Marcus felt his throat go dry. "The trials? Oh yes." Verana's mother smiled. "Traditional tests of merit for any outsider who presumes to join their bloodline to our ancient houses. I hope you have been studying our customs, young man." "He has been very eager to learn our ways," Verana quickly assured. "Marcus is remarkably adaptable." "Excellent," her father declared. "Then he will have no trouble with the ancestral battle ritual or the molecular harmony ceremony." Marcus turned to Verana, a surge of panic rising in his chest. "Ritual of what?" "Don't worry," she whispered, squeezing his hand. "The battle is mostly symbolic. Mostly, we will see you soon, daughter," Verana's mother chirped. "And you, future son, by bonding try to survive the trials. We would hate to have to find another father for our grandson." The transmission ended, leaving behind an awkward silence broken only by Dr. Corian's enthusiastic note-taking. "Fascinating," the doctor murmured. "Cross-cultural family dynamics during accelerated gestation. This case study keeps getting better." Marcus collapsed onto a nearby chair. "Verana, darling, do you remember telling me that Teronian culture was not complicated compared to human?" "Yes," she defended, her head crest curling apologetically. "Though I may have underestimated certain traditional aspects, like the ritual combat to admit your family into the fold. It's more of a dance, actually," she reassured, "with energy blades." "Energy blades, ceremonial ones. They only cause mild cellular disruption." She paused, noticing his expression, which our medical technology can easily repair. Dr. Corian looked up from his notes. "Indeed, given the subject's hybrid pregnancy status, Perhaps we should discuss traditional post-combat regeneration protocols. You are not helping, Doctor, Verana sighed. She moved to kneel in front of Marcus, taking his hands. My love, I know this seems overwhelming, but these traditions are important to my family. This is how we accept new bloodlines into our ancient houses, ensuring they are strong enough to protect and nurture the next generation. Marcus took a deep breath, looking into those mesmerizing blue eyes that had captured his heart from day one. And what happens if I fail these trials? Then we will face exile together. She said simply, because I will not leave you, regardless of ancient custom. Her head crest glowed with such pure affection that Marcus felt his fears begin to melt. Well, when you put it that way, I better start practicing my energy blade techniques. That's the spirit. Dr. Corian chimed in cheerfully, though as a precaution, we should first discuss the proper medical procedures for energy blade lacerations. The next hours were a flurry of preparation. Verana tried to give Marcus a crash course in the fundamentals of Teronian formal tradition, while Dr. Corian insisted on performing additional scans on their developing child. The fetal crest is already showing signs of human influence, the doctor noted excitedly. See how it forms unique patterns, and the genetic markers indicate he will inherit both Teronian empathic abilities and human-specific adaptive traits. Truly remarkable. That is fascinating. Doctor, Marcus said distractedly, trying to memorize the 17 traditional greeting gestures Verana was teaching him. But perhaps we could focus on his father surviving long enough to meet him. Oh, the survival rate for these trials is actually quite reasonable, Dr. Corian assured. Nearly 60%. 60%? Verana. He's exaggerating, she said quickly. It's at least 75%. And my father hasn't seriously injured a potential partner candidate in at least 3 cycles. Seriously injured? Mild cellular disruption hardly counts, she insisted. Now, let's practice the stance of respectful submission again. Remember, keep your left foot precisely 3 degrees out of alignment with your center of gravity. As Marcus tried to master the complex physical protocols of a Teronian formal greeting, he couldn't help but marvel at how his life had changed. Weeks ago, his biggest concern was whether his new alien housekeeper would sort his laundry properly. Now, he was preparing for ritual combat while expecting a hybrid child. You know, he said during a brief pause, watching her head crest glow with maternal radiance as he absently stroked her still flat abdomen. I never thought the morning you decided to land naked on top of me would lead to this. Her head crest curled in amusement. Are you disappointed? Terrified, he admitted, but also complete. Everything in my life feels like it was a preparation to meet you. That's very poetic, she observed. Perhaps you should save those kinds of sentiments for the ritual of verbal devotion. It's traditionally performed after the combat trial. Provided you are still conscious, you're not helping. Sweetheart, sorry. She grinned, not looking sorry at all. But your fear is actually quite endearing. Your pheromones take on a spicy note when you're nervous. Speaking of pheromones, Dr. Corian interjected, these readings are fascinating. The pregnancy appears to be strengthening your natural empathic bond. Have you noticed any unusual shared sensations or emotional transfer? Before he could answer, the home AI chimed again, incoming vessel detected in Earth orbit. Teronian registry matches provided credentials. Estimated arrival at designated landing zone. 15 minutes. Marcus felt his heart race. 15 minutes? But you said 8 hours. Oh, Verana said sheepishly. I may have forgotten to mention that Teronian ships have the ability to utilize temporal compression. During family emergencies, temporal compression? Like time travel? More like selective acceleration through space-time, she clarified. It's perfectly safe, but it does make humans a little queasy, as if on cue. An elegant silver vessel appeared above their house, its hull shimmering with chronometric energy. Well, Marcus said, straightening his spine and taking Verana's hand. I guess it's time to meet the in-laws. Remember, she whispered, squeezing his fingers. No matter what happens in the trials, I love you. Our son loves you. We are family now, regardless of ancient customs. Speaking of family, Dr. Corian added helpfully, I should point out that Teronian pregnancy hormones can sometimes cause unexpected energy surges. During ceremonial combat, you are truly not helping. Doctor, the ceremonial arena aboard the Teronian ship pulsed with bioluminescent light as Marcus faced his future father-in-law. High Council member Talon's elaborate head crest curled with anticipation. as he activated his ceremonial energy blade, its violet light casting unearthly shadows. "Brace yourself, Earth Son," Talon announced formally. The ancestral battle trial begins. Marcus gripped his own blade, trying to recall Verana's rushed training. From the observation platform, he heard Verana's mother, Lady Serafina, whisper loudly, "His stance is all wrong. Are we certain he is worthy of our bloodline?" "Mother," Verana protested, her own head crest pulsing with pregnancy-enhanced emotion. "Remember what happened during your own partner trials. That was different," Lady Serafina huffed. "At least your father knew the proper ceremonial salute." The turning point came when Marcus instinctively dodged Talon's initial strike. With unexpected grace, moving through the unexpected clarity of his empathic connection to Verana, he could feel the elder Teronian's movements before they happened. "Interesting," Talon commented, engaging a complex pattern of strikes. "You have forged a bond deep enough to share her battle sense. Highly impressive for a human." "Well," Marcus grunted, parrying another blow, "your daughter has ways of surprising people. Like how we met, remember?" "Ah yes," Talon chuckled, bringing the blade dangerously close to Marcus's ear. "The inappropriate co-sleeping arrangement. Highly shocking by human standards, I understand. You could say that." Marcus barely evaded a sweeping strike. It worked out pretty well, though. Verana suddenly doubled over from her position, her head crest glowing intensely. "Speaking of surprises, I think my water just broke." All combat immediately ceased. "But you have 3 more weeks," Marcus yelled, deactivating his blade. It appears, Dr. Corian observed from his monitoring station, that the emotional intensity of the battle trial has accelerated the final stage of gestation. "Fascinating. Are you shocked?" "Me too." Share your reactions to this unexpected turn in the story in the comments below. If you liked the story so far, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. Less fascinating, more help. Marcus shouted, scrambling to Verana's side. "Wait," Lady Serafina interjected. "The trials cannot be completed without the proper blessings, Mother." Verana spoke through clenched teeth, her head crest throbbing with contractions. "Your grandson is arriving now. Traditional protocols can wait." "Actually," Dr. Corian chimed in cheerfully, "there is an ancient precedent for combining the birth ritual with the battle trials. Though it hasn't been attempted for 7 centuries, explain quickly," Talon demanded. "Paternal instincts overriding ceremonial requirements, the combined creation ritual," the doctor detailed, "where the battle energy is channeled to assist the birthing process. It requires perfect synchronization among all family members." "Do it," Verana gasped, gripping Marcus's hand. Through their bond, he felt the wave of both pain and fierce determination. What followed was unlike anything in human or Teronian medical texts. As Verana went into labor, Marcus and her parents formed a triangle around her, their energy blades creating a matrix of light. Dr. Corian guided them to channel their combined energy to support the birthing process. "Remarkable," the doctor cried, watching multiple holographic screens. "The human's natural bioelectric field is amplifying the Teronian energy patterns, and the baby's hybrid genetics are responding magnificently. Less commentary, more delivering," Marcus suggested, holding his position despite the strain. Through their empathic bond, he felt everything Verana did, her pain, her joy, her resolve. Their connection was so powerful, he could even sense the consciousness of their unborn son, a brilliant spark of combined human and Teronian energy. "The crest," Lady Serafina gasped suddenly, "look how it forms." The baby's tiny crest was indeed unique, a perfect blend of Teronian patterns with subtle variations. That seemed almost human. As the final moments approached, the ceremonial energy matrix pulsed in sync with Verana's. Contractions. "One last push," Dr. Corian encouraged. "The combined energies are perfectly aligned." In a flash of bioluminescent light that temporarily blinded everyone in the room, their son entered the world. His first cry carried both human power and Teronian resonance. "By the ancient stars," Talon whispered, deactivating his blade and approaching the newborn. "He is perfect." The small child's skin was pale ivory with subtle magenta undertones. His tiny crest already displayed characteristics of both species, but it was his eyes that drew everyone's attention, human in shape, but the intense azure of his mother's race. "Well done, Earth Son," Talon said formally, placing a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You have proven yourself worthy, not only through combat, but through your devotion to my daughter and grandson. Does that mean we can skip the remaining trials?" Marcus asked hopefully, cradling his son as he supported an exhausted but radiant Verana. Skip, Lady Serafina looked appalled. Certainly not, but we can adapt them to include the little one. After all, he is the first of a new bloodline, a perfect blend of both worlds. Just like his father, Verana murmured, touching their son's tiny crest. Speaking of a blend of worlds, Dr. Corian interjected, still reading his metrics. These genetic combinations are revolutionary. The way the human DNA has integrated perfectly with the Teronian traits we may be looking at an entirely new chapter in interspecies relations. Doctor, Marcus said firmly, can the scientific analysis wait? We are having a family moment. Of course. Though I should mention that his unique genetic structure may affect the traditional naming ceremonies. Actually, Verana said softly, I was thinking of naming him Alexander. It means defender of mankind in ancient Earth languages. Alexander, Marcus tried the name, feeling his son respond through their family bond. Perfect. A strong name. Talon acknowledged. Though he will need a Teronian name for formal occasions as well. And we still need to complete the molecular harmony ritual, Lady Serafina added, and the genetic recognition ceremony. And perhaps, Verana suggested diplomatically, we could have a brief rest. Some of us have just given birth. Marcus looked at his new family, his beautiful alien wife, his miraculous hybrid son, and his rather intimidating but well-meaning in-laws, and couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. Something amusing, Earth son, Talon asked, just thinking about how it all started. Marcus explained, my alien housekeeper who didn't understand human sleeping customs. And now look at us, we are literally making history. Indeed, Dr. Corian chimed in eagerly. The first documented human Teronian family unit, the scientific papers alone. Doctor, everyone said in unison, not now. Which moment of the story did you like? I'm waiting in the comments. 3 months after Alexander's birth, life had settled into a new normal, if you could call life, with a half-human, half-Teronian baby who occasionally glowed bioluminescent when happy normal. Marcus sat in his home office, trying to focus on work while Teronian lullabies played in the background. Verana had insisted that Alexander be exposed to both cultural influences, which meant their home was now a fascinating blend of Earth and alien technology, art, and music. Marcus, Verana called out from the living room. Alexander's doing that thing again. Which thing? He asked, rushing out only to find his son floating cheerfully about 2 inches above his play mat. The floating thing, Verana said, sounding remarkably calm for someone whose baby was clearly defying gravity. Dr. Corian said it might happen. Hybrids sometimes develop unexpected abilities. Sometimes. Marcus hurried over to catch his hovering son. That wasn't in any of the handbooks. What handbooks? Verana giggled. There are no handbooks for human Teronian hybrids. We're making this all up as we go. Alexander cooed happily, reaching his tiny hands toward his father's face. His crest pulsed with soft pink light, and Marcus could feel the baby's pure joy through their empathic bond. He thinks it's a game, Marcus murmured, holding his son close. We really need to call Dr. Corian. Already done, Verana said, pointing to the holographic display where the doctor was already gesticulating with excitement. Fascinating, Dr. Corian exclaimed. The combination of human adaptive neuroplasticity with Teronian biokinetic abilities. The child is developing skills that neither parent species possesses alone. Doctor, Marcus said firmly while trying to hold a giggling, floating infant. Less fascination. More solutions. How do we prevent our son from floating to the ceiling? Oh, that will self-regulate once he learns to control it. Should take about 6 to 8 months. Verana laid a calming hand on Marcus's shoulder. Look on the bright side, beloved. At least we don't have to worry about him falling out of bed, because he'll be floating above it, Marcus muttered, but couldn't suppress a smile as Alexander gurgled happily and began running his bioluminescent pattern across his tiny crest. The house AI system chimed again, incoming message from Interstellar Household Services Agency. A professional-looking Teronian woman appeared on screen, her crest styled in neat business waves. Good afternoon, Mr. Vega, Mrs. Verana. I'm Coordinator Lysandra from the agency. We're conducting a follow-up on your placement. Oh, Marcus said nervously, trying to position Alexander so his floating abilities weren't immediately obvious. Everything's going great. Excellent. Though I notice your situation has evolved somewhat beyond the original contract. Parameters. Lysandra's eyes twinkled with amusement. A marriage, a child. and apparently several new interspecies precedents. It was an unexpected development. Verana admitted, "The best kind." Lysander beamed, "I'm actually here to inform you that your story has sparked a wave of interest in interspecies household services. We've received hundreds of inquiries from humans asking for Teronian housekeepers, and equally many Teronians interested in working on Earth." "Seriously?" Marcus asked incredulously. "Oh yes. You'd have become something of ambassadors, whether you intended to or not. The agency would love to know if you'd be willing to share your expertise. Perhaps an interview, or even a small handbook about interspecies cohabitation." Marcus and Verana exchanged glances. "A handbook?" Marcus repeated. "We're making this all up as we go." "Exactly," Lysander smiled. "That's why it would be so valuable. Authentic lived experience. Just think about it." After the transmission ended, Marcus looked at Verana, who now held Alexander pressed against her chest while the boy hummed contentedly. "And created little light patterns, you know," he said, wrapping his arms around them both. "When I complained that my apartment was messy and I needed a housekeeper, I never thought I'd get a family, that I'd get everything," he corrected, kissing her forehead, then Alexander's glowing little crest. "A brilliant, beautiful wife who constantly challenges me. An extraordinary son who's already doing impossible things, and the feeling of being exactly where I belong, even if that means having intimidating in-laws who insist on testing you in ceremonial combat regularly." "Even then," Marcus confirmed, "though I still don't understand why your father thinks I need to sharpen my combat spirit." "He likes you," Verana assured him. "In his culture, regular combat is how you maintain bonds. Think of it as the Teronian version of golf. Very painful golf." She chuckled, and Alexander joined in with his own gurgling laugh, his little crest flashing with joy. In that moment, surrounded by the chaos of their combined lives with furniture mixed with Teronian technology, baby supplies modified for both human and alien needs, and the constant gentle bioluminescent glow Alexander emitted, when happy Marcus felt profound gratitude. His life had changed in ways he never could have imagined, all because of a simple decision to hire a housekeeper. Or maybe it had been fate. Maybe the universe had known he needed Verana, her directness, her warmth, her way of making him look beyond the boundaries of what he thought possible. "What are you thinking?" Verana asked softly, interrupting his reflections about how perfect this all is. He answered honestly, "Chaotic, unexpected, sometimes absolutely insane, but perfect. Even though our sun floats?" "Especially because our sun floats," Marcus laughed. "It means he's like his mother. Extraordinary, unique, and absolutely impossible not to love." Verana's crest flushed that deeper rose shade he'd come to know as embarrassment and pleasure. "You're getting better at Teronian romance. You know, I had a good teacher." Alexander chose that moment to decide floating was boring and attempted to teleport instead, which resulted in a small pop of light that moved him exactly 2 inches to the left. "Okay," Marcus said, regarding his son with a mixture of pride and mild panic. "That's new. I'm calling Dr. Corian again," Verana sighed, but couldn't stop smiling. As she moved toward the communication device, Marcus held his miraculous son already doing things no scientist had predicted, and thought about the journey ahead. There would be challenges, more cultural confusions, more unexpected abilities, more well-meaning but overwhelming interference from Verana's family, but there would also be joy, laughter, love that spans species and galaxies. And every morning he'd wake up hopefully not with Verana unclothed on top of him, though that was occasionally nice too, and know he had the most remarkable family in the known universe. "You know, Alexander," he whispered to his son while Verana listened to Dr. Corian's scientific enthusiasm about teleportation. "One day you'll be old enough to hear the story of how your mother and I met, and you'll probably think your old man's crazy," Alexander cooed, reaching for Marcus's face, his tiny fingers sparkling with gentle bioluminescent light. Through their empathic bond, Marcus could feel his son's pure, innocent love uncomplicated by cultural differences or interspecies complications. Just love. And in the end, that was all that mattered. Verana returned, rolling her eyes. "Dr. Corian wants to run more tests. I told him he could come by tomorrow. Today belongs to us as a family." "Perfect," Marcus agreed, pulling her into an embrace, careful not to squish Alexander between them. "How about a quiet night in? Maybe some of that Teronian film you wanted to show me? The 4-hour historical epic about the Great Unification Wars?" Verana asked hopefully. "I'll see how long I last before falling asleep," Marcus joked. "Well, yes, that one. You're the best husband," she said, kissing him softly. "And you're the best housekeeper who ever accidentally became an interstellar sensation." He replied. They both laughed, and Alexander joined in with his musical baby laughter, his crest dancing with light. Somewhere out there, scientists were undoubtedly discussing the implications of their family. Bureaucrats were updating contracts and regulations, and countless other humans and aliens were beginning to consider their own interspecies journeys. But here in their cozy living room, with their floating, teleporting, bioluminescent baby, all that mattered was being together. An impossible family, born from a cultural misunderstanding and grown into something extraordinary. Marcus wouldn't have had it any other way. Well, maybe a little less ceremonial combat with his father-in-law, but otherwise, it was perfect. The weeks that followed brought new adventures. Alexander's abilities continued to manifest in unexpected ways. One morning, Marcus found his son had somehow changed the color of his nursery walls to match his mood. A cheerful yellow when happy, a soft blue when sleepy. "Is this normal?" Marcus asked during one of Dr. Corian's increasingly frequent house calls. "Define normal," the doctor replied enthusiastically. "Your son is rewriting what we understand about genetic possibility. Every day brings new data. Every day brings new chaos," Marcus corrected, though his tone was affectionate. Verana's parents had taken up semi-permanent residence in a nearby hotel, much to Marcus's mixed feelings. On one hand, Lady Serafina was an invaluable help with Alexander, knowing Teronian child-rearing techniques that no Earth parent could match. On the other hand, Talon still insisted on training sessions that left Marcus sore and exhausted. "It builds character," Talon would say after each session, his crest curling with what Marcus had learned was paternal affection. "My grandson will need a strong father. Your grandson's father needs to not be in the hospital," Marcus would reply, though he groaned to appreciate the older Teronian's rough way of showing care. One evening, as Marcus was giving Alexander a bath carefully, since the baby had recently discovered he could make the water flow, Verana appeared in the doorway. With an odd expression, "I just got off a call with the agency," she said. "They want us to do that interview, and they're offering quite a bit of money." Marcus paused, holding the giggling. "Water manipulating Alexander. What do you think?" "I think," Verana said slowly, moving to sit beside the tub, "that we stumbled into something bigger than us. There are hundreds of humans and Teronians out there wondering if cross-species relationships can work. Maybe our story could help them, our messy, chaotic, completely unplanned story. Especially that," she smiled, "because it's real. We didn't have a handbook. We made mistakes. We're still making mistakes. But we made it work because we chose to." Marcus looked down at Alexander, who had created a small water spout and was laughing with delight at his own creation. "You're right. If our crazy story can help even one person take that leap, then it's worth sharing." Verana finished. That night, after Alexander was finally asleep floating contentedly about 6 inches above his crib mattress, Marcus and Verana sat on their back porch under the Texas stars. "Do you ever regret it?" Marcus asked quietly. "Bonding with a human, all the complications that came with it." Verana's crest glowed softly in the darkness. "Never. You gave me something I didn't know I was missing. A home, not just a place, but a feeling. A sense of belonging that transcends species or planets." "I know what you mean," Marcus said, pulling her close. "Before you, I was just going through the motions. Work, home, sleep, repeat. I didn't even realize how empty it was until you filled it. With floating babies and disapproving in-laws," she teased. "With love," he corrected. "The kind that changes everything." Inside, they heard Alexander make a small sound, not crying, just babbling in his sleep. Through their empathic bond, both parents could feel his contentment, his dreams a swirl of colors and emotions that mixed human and Teronian consciousness in ways no one had ever experienced before. "He's going to change the world, isn't he?" Marcus said softly. "He already has," Verana replied, "just by existing, by proving that our species can not just coexist, but create something new and beautiful together. No pressure on the kid, though," Marcus laughed. "Oh, plenty of pressure," Verana grinned. "Have you met my parents?" They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars. Somewhere up there was Verana's homeworld, with its crystalline cities and bioluminescent forests. And here was Earth, with its chaotic beauty and resilient people. Alexander belonged to both worlds and neither, a bridge between stars. You know what the best part is? Marcus said eventually. What? In all the sci-fi stories I read growing up, first contact was always about governments and militaries and grand diplomatic gestures. But for us, it started with you using me as a body pillow because you were cold. Verana burst out laughing, her crest sparkling with mirth. When you put it that way, it does sound ridiculous. It's perfect, Marcus said, because that's how real connections happen. Not through grand gestures, but through small, genuine moments. You were cold. I was warm. Everything else just grew from there, like Alexander growing from my womb, Verana said, her hand instinctively moving to her flat stomach. Remembering, like our family growing from a misunderstanding, Marcus added. The best misunderstanding ever, Verana whispered. Kissing him softly inside, Alexander made another sound, and both parents felt a surge of love through their bond. Whatever challenges lay ahead, and there would be many, they would face them together. A human, a Teronian, and their impossible, miraculous son. The universe had brought them together in the most unlikely way, and Marcus knew, with absolute certainty, that he wouldn't change a single moment of their chaotic, beautiful, extraordinary journey, even the part where he woke up with an alien woman on his chest. Especially that part, because that's where everything began. This amazing story has come to an end, but there are more stories like this on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for more. See you soon.